edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I am Mr. Warren Hayes, and this is the SmackDown Live recap for the January 15 edition of said SmackDown Live show. Man, oh man, oh man, I'm going to have so much fun tonight. Ooh, there's some good stuff to talk about, isn't there? Isn't there a lot of good stuff to talk about this evening? You damn right. You damn Skippy. Oh boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. But I'm really glad that you're here, that you've decided to tune in, press play on the video, or joining live, right here on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. Got a whole bunch of regulars here in the chat this evening. We have Kevin, Anthony from Smart to Death. We have Kristen Ashley, editor-in-chief of Daily DDT. Anthony Suter of Smart to Death. We have JPQ, who started his own very own podcast as well, which is called For Just Not Another Angle. Just Another Angle. It's something about another angle. I'm sorry, John. I can't. Wait, okay, no, I'll make this right. I'm going to pull up my phone, and I'm going to go into my subscriptions on my phone, and then you'll see, John, that I'm subscribed. No Particular Angle podcast. So you should go check those out. Check out Smart to Death. I'm also sporting their activewear. You should go check out those guys as well. They are fantastic. Kristen Ashley over on Diva Dirt. You should check that out. Kristen also collaborates on. She contributes. Not collaborates. She contributes to Fightful as well. We did a podcast together. She's running the Division podcast, brand new podcast over on Fightful. You should go check that out. Only about women's wrestling, women happenings in the world of women's wrestling across the spectrum of promotion. So we had our first episode last week. When I say we, I mean she had, and she invited me on. Hopefully I'll be on again if I didn't embarrass her too much. You never know. But yeah, there we go. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing right now. Doing SmackDown Live, so we have all these folks in the chat here. We have people listening also on podcast form, because just last week I started putting the audio recordings of the show over in podcast format over at on all sorts of podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean. You can go check it out. Just look for the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, and it's there. So if you prefer to listen just on the audio on your commute, something nice and discreet, you go ahead and you do that. So next, coming up tomorrow is Wednesday. It's my 205 Live NXT recap show over on FightfulSelect.com. I spoke about Fightful a few seconds ago. Fightful, news website for wrestling-related stuff. Wrestling, combat sports. It says MMA, boxing. It's all there. But you can also, on top of Fightful, join Fightful Select, which is the premium service where you get a whole bunch of extra content. Fantastic content. Such as my 205 Live NXT recap show. Such as the Weekender podcast, where Steven Jensen joins us and covers all non-WWE programming. You have Sean Ross Sapp, managing editor. He does the Weekender, not the Weekender. He used to do the Weekender, but now he does the Fightful Report. That's every week, where he goes over the week's news and gives backstage news and stuff like that. So you head on over to Fightful Select, subscribe for 5 simple, basic, crisp dollars. You can get right into there with all that great content. And I just spoke about those podcasts, but there's also retro reviews, there's dark match commentary. You get news previews as well. You get sneak peeks into stuff. You get exclusives there. This is all fantastic. All fantastic. So join us there. Join me tomorrow. 205 Live, which is actually airing right now. They're back to Tuesdays, but that's okay. I'll still do my recap tomorrow, right after NXT. And I'm going to try and add the NXT UK stuff there as well. Hopefully they'll bring it. Well, hopefully. I'm hoping that they'll bring NXT UK back down to an hour so that I can compress all 3 shows into 1 hour. Because the extra 2 hours of NXT UK, sort of makes me cry. Just make me, not that bad. But, then I have to, well, it's not that I have to either. But then I feel like I need to do an extra podcast, which I've done, just focused on NXT UK, and that's fine because NXT UK is good. There's a lot of great stuff going, but I'm kind of hoping that that they bring it back to an hour, that they don't tape as much stuff, because I feel like it came to a point where they had so much stuff taped, that maybe some people started to realize what was working well and what wasn't working as well, and they couldn't really do any changes because they had all this stuff already packed in. Anyway, so we'll see what happens on that level, but feel free to come join me. And I do the podcast live as well on Fightful Select, so come over and join me. Next week is the lead up to Royal Rumble and NXT TakeOver Phoenix. So I'm gonna be doing extra content here on YouTube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes and all subsequent podcasting apparatuses. Keep these things in mind. I'm going to be joined by Anthony of Smart to Death, he's going to be joining me for my Royal Rumble prediction show. So we're going to talk about Royal Rumble. We're going to predict the outcomes. It's going to be a lot of fun. Anthony he's a cool cat, and I like having cool cats over. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. I'm also going to be joined by C. Danny Mac of the Undisputed Future podcast. He's going to be joining me as well for my NXT TakeOver Phoenix prediction show. We've done stuff in the past. Danny and I. He's been here for every TakeOver prediction show since I started. We're continuing that tradition. And speaking of traditions, I'm going to be joining the boys at the Speeds and the Benchmark show next Thursday evening, 9 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. I'm going to be joining them on their show because I'm part of their tradition. Whenever there's a takeover, they invite me on, little old me, to talk predictions. So that's always a lot of fun. I always like going to see Silky and Chris. They're two fantastic guys. They have a fantastic show. It's always a good time. Lots of laughs, lots of giggles. It's going to be a busy week. And if I'm not mistaken, there's going to be another Division podcast that's going to be recorded. Maybe I'll be there. Right, Kristen? Maybe I'll be there. That'd be nice. I'd like that. I'd like that. You know what I also like? I like to watch wrestling. You like to watch wrestling. You enjoy wrestling. So if you like wrestling so damn much, why don't you marry it? And if you're looking for something to marry regarding wrestling, why don't you marry Powerslam.tv? Powerslam.tv is a subscription service where you can watch 4,000 hours of wrestling content provided by some from dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of independent wrestling promotions across the world. And they all converge onto this subscription platform where you can watch as much wrestling as your heart desires. And as far as promotions goes, guys, gals, they have some fantastic stuff there. Keep talking about Smash Wrestling from Canada. I keep talking about Defy. I keep talking about Bar Wrestling. It's all great stuff there. They even have some classic Rev Pro matches. If you want to go take a look at that. Last week when I started talking about it, I had mentioned Will Ospreay versus AJ Styles. That's there. You have some Marty Scurll matches. You even have Joe Coffey's in there. Go check it out. It's worth checking out and watching some stuff. And because Power Slam are cool enough, kind enough to support the Warren Hayes Show, give us a nice thumbs up. Well, they're going to give you the chance to discover for yourself the great offerings from their service by using a promo code and giving you a month of their programming free. A month of their subscription, I should say, absolutely free. So you head to powerslam.tv, you sign up using promo code Warren Hayes. You got to keep that cult of personality going, folks. Go over there, use Warren Hayes as your promo code. It'll make me feel special every time. Every time someone signs up using promo code Warren Hayes, I get a tingle up and down the nape of my neck. Now, you will say a nape of a neck is not necessarily very long. Warren, if you were getting tingles up and down your spine, that's something. Your nape is very short. Short, but oh so satisfying when tingles start going up and down. And you could say, if it's going up and down a very short distance, as opposed to a very long one regarding your spine, then, the effect is multiplied because the top effect is still there as it comes back up. It's so good getting tingles in the up and down the nape of your neck. And that's what I get every time you subscribe to Power Slam TV for a free month using promo code Mr. Warren. Just Warren Hayes. I could have messed it up. Just Warren Hayes. Just do it. Check it out. It's fantastic. And I want to thank these guys for reaching out. Very cool stuff. I told you guys I started watching some bar wrestling over the weekend. I'm gonna watch a little more after we're done watching Impact over on Twitch. All right. You know what time it is now, folks. You know what we do at this part of the show here. Right? You're all aware. I'm going to clear my throat. Just give me a second. I'm going to do a little sip here. This is the part where we do bold predictions, where my Twitter timeline, all the folks who decide that it's a good idea to follow me on Twitter, where they chime in with their bold predictions because I asked them to. I want to give them the opportunity to give me their boldest, craziest predictions. You guys ready for this? Are you guys ready for this? Let's dive right in to today's edition of Bold Predictions. We're going to start by Professor Steiner, who says Shane announces the return of the Hardcore Championship. The Hardcore Championship bold predictions, they pop back like every 2 to 3 weeks. And at some point, it's like someone wants the hardcore title back. And I mean, sure, it's just odd. There's like this cycle. Then for a couple of weeks, won't hear talk about it at all. Then all of a sudden, it'll be back. Shane announces the return of the Hardcore Championship. Becky beats Jeff Hardy as the champion. Later that night, Flair challenges Becky as she goes down to the hotel desk in her bathrobe. Now, the question that I have here for Professor Steiner, when he says Flair, does he mean Charlotte or does he mean Rick? Thank you so very much for that, Professor Steiner. All right, we can move along here. We can move along here. OBS, man. Sometimes it's a live show. There we go. The Fifth Doctor chimes in and says, Becky makes Daniel Bryan tap out to become WWE champion. Funny segue. We talked a bit about intergender wrestling very, very recently. As recently as this weekend, this Sunday, during the inaugural launch of the Division podcast, which you can listen to over at Fightful.com or on Apple Podcasts as well. So go check that out. We did talk about intergender wrestling. It was a lot of fun. Well, the whole podcast was a lot of fun. You should check it out. Lethal! The James Lethal says Daniel Bryan throws the WWE title in the trash and replaces it with a wooden medallion similar to the FCW 15 championship. Now that's digging deep. And for those of you who aren't watching right now on audio, I just put up an image of the SCW 15 championship just right here. That's a weird prize. That's odd. Medallion. Anyway, that was a very bold prediction, and especially if it's in wood. Pretty funny. Thank you, Lethal. Joshua Anderson chimes in next, and Daniel Bryan, another Daniel Bryan prediction here. Daniel Bryan makes it rain vegan hot dogs from the ceiling. Then Curry Man comes out and attacks him for forcing flavorless food on the WWE Universe. That's very bold. However, based in misconception, because you know what? The vegan food is anything but flavorless. Anyone who's eaten vegan or vegetarian food will know damn well that because, you have to compensate for a lot of missing texture that you get from meat and taste, you got to season that shit up. That's actually very, very tasty. If you eat bland vegan stuff, like if you were just to take a brick of tofu and just chuck into it like this, of course you're going to be like, ew, this stuff is awful. But if you let it marinate, let's say for a day in a combination of soy sauce, maybe some mirin, little rice vinegar, toss in, and then and a little sesame oil. You stir fry that shit up with some bok choy. Add some hot pepper. Getting hungry. All right. But thank you. Very bold prediction, Joshua. Just to think that Daniel Bryan can make stuff rain. We have JB, who says Daniel Bryan interrupts Shane's birthday celebration and goes all Captain Planet on Shane and Miz. Bold prediction. First of all, this almost happened during AJ Styles' segment, right? And second of all, I think at this point, it would be awesome if Daniel Bryan did come out dressed as Captain Planet at some point. That would be awesome. Thank you, JB, for the prediction. And the last one from Tony Barker. It says, R-Truth finds a long zipper on the back of Carmella and he unzips it. As the zipper comes down, $100 bills cascade out, revealing that Mella was in fact money. Fantastic stuff. Bold predictions, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for jumping in and contributing. And now let's get to the meat of the situation. Let's get into the show. The show called SmackDown Live that began tonight with Becky Lynch arriving in an SUV. Feud with Daniel Bryan confirmed. She comes out. She comes out and she walks out. She comes across the the New Day with heavy machinery. Heavy machinery. We're making shakes out of tuna and pancakes and whole eggs. And man, oh man, I'm still fearful that they're doing the that they're doing the mentally challenged angle with Otis, and that as someone pointed out in chat last night, I don't remember who, but someone pointed out that Otis is a little slow, and Tucker Knight is going to be his handler. Someone was comparing him to Festus as well. I had called it that they were going to use him as a comedy act, but you would at least, kind of let them get over in the ring, right? And it's really weird. It's weird because they're not the greatest tag team in the world, but they can go. I think Tucker Knight has a lot of upside. He improved dramatically over the past year in NXT. And here's the weird thing, the really strange thing is that not too long ago, Otis Dozovic had a competitive match against Tommaso Ciampa. I mean, it wasn't a blowaway match, but he worked it. Didn't go around going, "Hey, look at the guy with the boozers. Hey, what's that sound pro? Call some random for a name, like some steaks." It actually happened. Anyway, Becky takes a sip of the shake, a big gulp, I should say, not a sip. She gulps it down. She says, "Weak," and she walks away. One thing that made me chuckle is that the New Day were all in their red tracksuits, and then when Becky arrived, had Xavier Woods in the back, who was sort of he did one of these, and as he went, his jacket sort of burst open, and he had the man T-shirt underneath. Just a nice little wink there. Anyway, Becky hits the ring. She cuts a promo saying that she says that being the man is difficult. Being in the main event spot is difficult. A lot of people seem to think still to this day that she's only hype. If you want to talk about hype, let's talk about Asuka, who came into WrestleMania unbeatable, unbreakable, undefeated, but she lost and it shook her to her core and she fell off the map. Not entirely untrue as far as stories go. Asuka comes out. That calls Asuka out, right? Because, she's not going to sit back and let anyone say anything. And again, why do you put a non-native speaker in a promo situation with arguably one of your best promos in your company? Why do you do that? And then you have the morons in the audience who are going to want her, and they did. And yes, there are going to be people who are going to give me the counter argument. It's going, well, if she never cuts any, she's not going to get any better. And I agree with that. Just don't try to have her match wits, especially against Becky, who, if she was given if she were to ever be given the order to cut loose, she'd run circles around Asuka, of course. Asuka says something to the effect that you like to talk, you like hype, you like buzz, 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 like a little bee with no sting. And on that note, I'm going to take a drink. However, I did like the line where she says, after Royal Rumble, you will not be in Charlotte. You will not be in Charlotte's shadow. You will be in mine. I like that because it just digs back into Becky's motivations. The Iconics come out after this. Billie Kay starts reprimanding Asuka for acting in a way that is very unbecoming of a champion. They call Bessie. Oh boy. They call Becky bossy. And I think Peyton says typical behavior from a man, which got a good amount of boos, and I kind of liked the dig. I appreciated it. He says they say they're going to win the Royal Rumble match. They're going to win the Royal Rumble match, and then they're going to go on to become the first women's WWE Tag Team Champions. I'm looking forward to that moment. They probably won't be the first, but I'm still looking forward to that moment. So then this leads into a match where Becky challenges Peyton, or challenges anyway the Iconics, and it leads into Becky versus Peyton. I'm going to skip over it. Wasn't a great match. I thought it was kind of iffy. Thought that, there were a couple of blown spots. There was a moment where Becky did a baseball slide between the ropes to Peyton was on the outside, but Peyton was way too far from the ring, and she just like sort of tapped Peyton with the tip of her tippy toes. And Peyton, the offense was very light on both ends. So if you're all okay with this, I'm just gonna skim over it. It ends, of course, with the disarmor on Peyton for the win. Then Asuka hits the ring, and she starts railing in Japanese. And this should honestly be Asuka's gimmick at this point. Never mind the promos. Never mind trying to speak in English. Just let her go bananas in Japanese. That would always be fantastic. And she's basically saying, look, I want to fight too. This chump just defeated this chump. So I want to beat up a chump. I'm assuming that's what she said in Japanese. I'm assuming there was liberal use of the word chump in Japanese. If anyone wants to check that out in chat, that'd be fantastic. How to pronounce chump in Japanese? I'm waiting. But Asuka, so eventually, she drags Billie Kay into the ring. She goes, she drags her into the ring, and the ref is already there. No one's really sanctioned the match, so the ref is like, all right, let's just do this. And he goes, it's like, it's not, he didn't even shrug. He just looked at the situation. He's like, nah, ding, ding, ding. Let's just go. They can chew me. The higher ups can chew me out later. Let's just make this happen. And this is very, very quick. Asuka gets Billie Kay very quickly into an Asuka lock for the win. And then Asuka and Becky have another confrontation. They stare each other down. That was fantastic. And then AJ Styles' music hits. But let me get before that, let's jump into the chat here. Let's see. Red Leaf Retrocast is here. CM Phil, good to see you. Got Rachel Moon. How you doing? Jason, you were here earlier, right? Did I say hello to you, Jason? I don't remember. Red Leaf says every promotion in the world except WWE and ROH lets foreigners cut promos in their native language, and if it's in the back, and if it's in the back, they pre-tape it and subtitle it, which is true. And I want to be clear. I'm not trying to be ethnocentrist. Look that one up, chumps, or whatever, however you pronounce it in Japanese. I'm not, but it's just that, as opposed to Shinsuke Nakamura, who understands, he has a better grasp of English than Asuka does, and he understands his shortcomings and he's able to play off of them. Asuka doesn't have that same kind of confidence. So when you put her with someone who is a great promo, she always will come across as a little short. And honestly, you go back to her NXT run, she didn't spend all that much time on the mic. Just this need to have them speak. It's really strange. Rachel asks, what do you think of the Mandy Rose Jimmy Uso segment? Rachel, I cannot wait to get there. We're getting there slowly but surely. CM Phil says, I like the Iconics, no shame. I like them too. All right. So, at the end of this segment, AJ Styles' music hits and he comes into the ring. And I'm sort of sitting in the back of my chair and I'm like, is AJ gonna go confront Becky Lynch? Like, is this gonna be a thing now? Is like all the top stars, the top male stars, are gonna go and sort of try to talk down to Becky, and Becky's gonna show them up? But no, that's not what happened. He went around the ring. He jumped over the barricade. He walked all the way up into the audience, like the stairs. And then he went into the concession area. Because when we come back, he's got a big table set up with a whole bunch of hot dogs and some sodas and merch. And this is his response to Daniel Bryan last week, where Daniel Bryan was saying, you people eat unhealthy food. You eat processed food. You know what the meat industry is doing to this country? Look, you're drinking soda pop. You're buying all this merch, disposable, built in, brought together from Vietnam or Sri Lanka. He didn't talk about the origins of the merch because that would legitimately probably be very embarrassing for WWE. But still, talking about consumerism, and AJ Styles, his response to that is, real people don't concern themselves with saving the planet and doing what's right. Real people eat hot dogs. I got hot dogs for all the real folks here. I mean, I get what they're doing. I do. I really do. And there's some level of irony here. It's a gorgeous level of irony right here. Anyway, so AJ starts handing out merch, and then all of a sudden he's attacked. He's mugged, ambushed by Daniel Bryan, who's in the audience with a hoodie on, and he goes straight after him, which I thought was hilarious. He drives him through the table with the hot dogs. I thought this was great. I really do. It was a nice spot. Drove right into the hot dogs, and the ambush just came out of completely nowhere. I really thought this was funny. It was simple. It was funny. Okay, and now we start sprinkling a little bit of this Mandy Rose magic here. It's starting. Jimmy and Jey Uso are backstage. I don't know. I guess they're in the middle of a photo shoot. And Jimmy gets a present. Someone brings him a present. And Jimmy hands the card over to his brother. He's like, "Oh, this is probably from my wife, Anniversary. Here you go, bro. Why don't you read the very personal note that my wife just wrote to me? Why don't you read it out loud to me?" Right? Because that makes sense. Yeah, sure. I mean, sure, they're twins, but I mean, And she goes, the note says, "I've been a naughty girl, and I need to be locked up in the Uso penitentiary." And it's signed, it's signed Mandy Rose, and there's a key to her hotel room. Now, what I liked about this segment here is two things. Jey Uso looks at the situation, surveys. He just finished reading the little note. There's a card. He says, and he looks at his brother and he says, "Us, what are you gonna do, dick? What kind of question is that? Are you're like saying you're opening the door to your brother to say, are you gonna cheat on your wife? What? The reaction should be like, man, hey, Mandy Rose, she's going too far. No, Jay is like, well, what are you going to do? But on top of that, Jimmy Uso says, I don't know. He literally says, I don't know. And I don't know if that was like a little improvisation because, you kind of felt like the segment was coming to an end and they should have cut the camera a little earlier. And if that's just like Jimmy just dropping a reaction line. And if it was $10, says Naomi was backstage, it was like, that's what you'd say? Is that what you'd say? That's your first reaction? I don't know what I'd do. Oh, that was so funny. Oh. But it's only just begun, right? It's only just begun. Yeah, John says it was product placement for Temptation Island. God. I can't believe it. Red Leaf says, and I agree with what Red Leaf says here. I think a writer has been watching Scarlett Boudreau on Impact and pitched it to Vince to make Mandy Rose a lighter version of her, and I agree. I think it's a little too coincidental at this point. I really do. Jason says, Warren, do yourself a favor and speak into the microphone. I could barely hear you. I think you're being sarcastic. Do you guys want me to? Do you want me to put up the gains? Do you want me to turn up the volume here, the recording volume? I don't think you do. Then we have Samoa Joe, who passes by EC3, who is staring at himself in a mirror, full-on narcissist. Oh God, I hope it's not a revival of that angle. We have Zelina and Andrade, no longer Andrade Cien Almas, just Andrade. That was so bad. Of course, they're gonna chop his name down. He's gonna be like Harper and Rowan and Cesaro and who else? Like Miz. Who else, guys? Drop all the names. Drop all the names of WWE wrestlers who've gone from a full name to just one name. Didn't Rusev have a full name at some point when he started? When he had like the when he had the brown thing, the brown cover trunks. Nah, it's so stupid. I agree, Rachel. It's really stupid. Elias never had a full name, though. Neville, that's very good. Yes, Cesaro as well. Big E Langston. Yes, Apollo as well. Apollo, they used to... they brought the Crews back, but for a while they did remove the Apollo. Good calls, Chad. Good calls. And yes, La Sombra, that was actually... Alexander Rusev. Thank you, Red Leaf. Exactly. Alexander Rusev. I really hated when they chop off the full name. You're right, Joe. It was Elias Sampson. You are correct. Absolutely correct. Yep. No, Rachel, I did not remember that. I apologize. I remembered the Drifter. I remember Elias, but Elias Sampson, that is correct. You guys are so smart. Y'all deserve a podcast. All right. So this leads us into Joe versus Mustafa Ali, or at least it was supposed to, but Joe was having none of that, nothing about a match tonight. He wasn't in no mood. He just wanted to kick the hell out of Mustafa Ali. And hoo boy, did Mustafa Ali get his ass handed to him, or at least made it look like he got his ass handed to him. He got posted twice, folks. Twice, and both times it looked like he got run over by a snowplow. Both moments. And Mustafa Ali is fantastic as far as a pairing goes to make Joe look like the monster he should be. So, short, efficient. I love this segment. It was great. Sonya Deville, and I hope they go on with this. I hope they push this a little longer. I think the outcome of this is inevitable. We're going to get Mustafa getting the underdog win over Joe, probably, which sucks because Joe needs some big time wins. But we'll see, right? We'll see how this goes. Sonya's trying. She's backstage talking with Mandy. And she's semi-offended. She's reprehending her friend. And I had called this a couple of weeks ago when I did the SmackDown post show on Fightful on January 1st. I had called this, saying that, what I'd really like out of this thing with Mandy and Naomi, what I would really like is for Sonya to take take position in this and find what Mandy's doing is unethical, a little gross, and turning on her. because I really think that Sonya Deville deserves to have her time in the shine. Anyway, so Sonya, basically said, "What the hell are you doing?" And of course, Mandy says, "I'm just toying with Jimmy to get at Naomi." We know that. We know that's the point. Because she hates Naomi and she wants to break up her marriage. We have Nikki Cross, who's on the other side of a chain link fence, and she wants to play with Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio's like, I don't know what's going on here. Quite honestly, neither did I. Samoa Joe then cuts a promo where he basically says, whoever singles themselves out as a champion, I'm coming after you. Another fire promo from Joe. And then, this is what you come for. You come for Rey Mysterio versus Andrade Cien Almas, and you stay for the Mandy Rose stuff. But, ladies and gentlemen, if you are tuning into my podcast without watching SmackDown tonight and wondering, well, I'll see what Warren thinks about it, and then I'll go watch it. First of all, I'm humbled. I appreciate that you appreciate my opinion on that level. That it's very touching. So if you're doing that, that means you haven't seen this match. Once we're done here, you just go on the network and you pull it up. No, you can't see it on the Hulu then. Anyway, fine. Go out of your way to see this match. This is unquestionably, it's one of those classic TV matches that we're going to be talking about in years. That you remember that match. I saw this match. This was fantastic. This was a classic, an absolute classic. They had about, I'd say, 19 minutes. They were given 19 minutes. This is a match where I was legitimately pissed off that there were commercials. Sometimes I'm like, fuck the commercials. And especially, I will always remind you guys, I will always remind you that I'm in Canada, so we don't get the picture-in-picture stuff. We don't see what's going on, regardless of whether the commercial is running or not. Us, we just get full-screen commercials. So we come back, man, it really breaks the flow. But despite that, I would love to see an uncut version of this. I would love to see a commercial-less version of this match. Because these guys they brought their pay-per-view game on this one here. There's a knuckle lock sequence at first to begin with. Goes into a surfboard into a wheelbarrow arm drag by Mysterio. So takes a couple of steps back and lets that sink in. Nice slow start by both these guys here. Immediately after that move, the wheelbarrow arm drag, Mysterio gets some "You Still Got It" chants. And man, if you had any doubts after this, Andrade waist locks Mysterio, takes him down, but they go through some reversals. They just can't get the one up on each other. Andrade shoves Mysterio. Andrade wants to go to the knuckle lock, the knuckle locks again, but Mysterio gets him right in with a headlock. Almost pushes Mysterio off into the ropes, but Mysterio gets him right back down with a headlock. And you'd think at this point, because I like to bitch about, I like to bitch about Jinder Mahal. I like to say it's not a Jinder Mahal match unless there's a headlock within the first 2 minutes. This is kind of what happened here. But there was a build to it. Just didn't slap on the headlock. There was some back and forth. They're trying stuff out. They're trying to get one. They're trying to get one on top of each other. This was great here. Almas finally breaks out and boots Mysterio down. He has him in a hammerlock. Mysterio slingshots himself off the top rope to try and break out of the hold, but Almas holds on to the hammerlock, and that was nice and smooth by both guys. Almas finally whips Mysterio into the corner. He's twisting the arm some more. Mysterio fights back with some kicks. A springboard head scissors takedown followed by a Hurricane Rana. Man, It's crazy that he still works on that level. Wheelbarrow into the ropes. He goes for the 619, but Andrade dodges it. Andrade goes for the hammerlock DDT and gets reversed into a pin. And then Andrade reverses the pin attempt with a backslide for 2. And he stands back because that's how he beat Mysterio last week. That's fantastic. Just little callbacks to last week. And he goes like this. He goes this close, you son of a bitch. Or something like that. I don't read lips. Mysterio battles back. Gets into an electric chair position on Almas and flips over both he and Almas to the outside. But Andrade collects himself and he keeps holding on to Mysterio on his shoulders, flips him around, and sit out power bombs ya boy Mysterio flat on the floor. That was sick. Get back from commercial and Mysterio hits a seated senton, another Hurricane Rana. A springboard flip by Mysterio is caught by Andrade, but Mysterio reverses it into a DDT. Andrade catches a running Mysterio with an arm drag into the turnbuckle. That was nice. Double knees in the corner, covers Mysterio but only gets 2. Mysterio eventually fights back with a head scissors again. Has Andrade hidden the turnbuckle on that one. Mysterio goes up top, but then we get some top rope shenanigans. It ends with Mysterio tossing Almas off. Almas is on the apron, and here is the spot of the night. Mysterio gets on the top turnbuckle, hits a flying Hurricane Rana off said top turnbuckle onto Almas, who is on the apron, and both guys fall to the floor. Woo! Sunset flip. We're back in the ring at this point. Mysterio hits a sunset flip powerbomb as we come back from commercial. Step up in Zaguri by Mysterio, but Almas has him eat the patented Almas back elbow. Almas then goes to the top rope and does the moonsault into the standing moonsault. Covers Mysterio for 2.9. God damn, I will never get tired of seeing the moonsault into the standing moonsault. It is so hot. Mysterio then hits another, at least he tries to hit another Canadian Destroyer, but Almas scouts it and hits an Alabama Slam instead. Mysterio then gets a 619. It goes for the 619, but it's interrupted. He's caught by Almas, but then Mysterio hits a crucifix bomb. Almas kicks out and then eats the 619. Mysterio goes up top. Zelina distracts the ref. Almas crotches Mysterio, draping hammerlock DDT, and Almas pins Mysterio for the win. Holy shit. Holy shit. This was so good, you guys and gals. You go out, you check this match out, you find it, you snuggle it tonight, you whisper sweet nothings into its ear. You say, you make me forget everything about the Mandy Rose stuff tonight. That's how good you are. That's how perfect you are. That was so good. And the thing is, the only qualm that I have really about this is that the Zelina Vega distraction was really unnecessary. Aside from giving Almas a little room to breathe and thus recuperate from the 619, there was no real reason, as everyone crotches everyone off the top turnbuckles without any disqualifications. Like, there wasn't really anything illegal. It was just to give some time for Almas. So, maybe there could have been another way. But this is so good. So good. Classic. One of the best TV matches I have seen in a long time. Dare we say early match of the year contender? Dare we? You guys have been talking a lot about in the chat about whether this is the start of a feud, or is this kind of like the blow off, and are we blowing it off on TV? You know, should it be a pay-per-view or something? But you know, I think one thing that this match does or did accomplish here is it continued to build Andrade Cien Almas as a very strong competitor. Like, if he's winning these big matches on TV, and he hasn't won a big match in a while as well, he's defeating Rey Mysterio, legendary, 2 weeks in a row, pins him. I mean, it's good for him. Not everything has to necessarily end up on a pay-per-view. That's how you also manage to keep your TV special. And I don't think, honestly, until this point here, that the casual WWE viewer would have perceived Almas versus Mysterio as a barn burner, as something that is a must-see thing. At this point here, it is, and the fact that Mysterio put him over is smart, because you get the new guy over. And that's really good. Rachel says the ref had his hand on Zelina's ass. Really? I'll have to check that again. All right. It's my main event. Oh. So Jimmy Uso is that he's walking down a hotel hallway. There are doors. He passes many doors, but he comes up to one door. He knocks on the door, takes the key, slides it in, opens the door. He walks in. And as he walks in, we cut to a camera inside the room. Just want to point that out. Turns around. There's actually a few cameras in this room, because there's a couple of camera shots. And there's a sound guy, and he's got a boom mic for sure, who's there as well. We don't see them, but they're there. So Jimmy comes in, and Mandy Rose is sitting in a chair, and she's wearing a black nightgown or a peignoir, or she's sitting there, and they just stare at each other in silence, right? And Mandy says, "Come closer, Jimmy." And at this point, the disbelief is starting to set in as I'm watching this. So she stands up and she says, the time to play hard to get is over, Jimmy. And she disrobes to reveal some sexy black underwear. What do you think, Jimmy? What will your wife think? The dialogue right up into this point is it's legendary porn levels at this point. And God bless Mandy Rose for having to deal with this stupid angle and these dumbass lines. Bless her blonde little heart. She doesn't have much to work with, and she's coming across as extremely phony. So Jimmy says, we can't do this. I can't do this. And I find that Jimmy is kind of chill about this. Let's say, but I get it, he set up a trap. He's got Naomi, all right? I know what the outcome is. But I'm watching this, and I'm like, he's a little too chill about someone who's trying to seduce him. He's married. If this were happening to me, I'd be like, whoa. I wouldn't let her get her one-liners in. It's like, time to play hard to get is over. It's like, whoa, buddy, what are you doing? Look, I've come here to clear the air. I have nothing. I don't want to do anything with this. I came here to tell you that I'm done. That this can't go on any further. But he's sort of like, we can't do this. We can't do this, guys. We just can't do this. Oh my God. So Jimmy is, as he's saying this, he's got his arms out like this, right, guys? And those of you who aren't watching who are listening on podcast, well, I apologize, but like you've probably seen the footage by now. He's got his arms sticking out like this, right? And and he sort of stays like that. Mandy sort of responds, and there's like this awkward moment. And then a guy with flash photography runs out of the bathroom and takes pictures of Jimmy sort of like this, kind of as if he's going in to embrace Mandy Rose. So the guy runs out of the bathroom and goes, and he runs out of the room. He runs out of the hotel room completely. Now again, I'm taking a pause here. Two things. They will not acknowledge that they have at least 3 video cameras in the room and a sound guy with his own equipment, but they'll acknowledge the photographer running out of the bathroom. They'll be like, oh, there was someone else here. That's one thing. And second, you can rest assured that the photographer missed his cue, because Jimmy was like this for like 2 to 3 seconds too long. It was so bad. I was crying at that stage. When the cameraman ran out, I was like, what the hell am I watching? But it doesn't stop there, folks. The pictures are taken. So what does Mandy Rose do? Mandy Rose lays out her evil plan. You think I really wanted you? You think this is about you? No, this is about your wife. I despise your wife. She walks around like she runs the place, but she'll never be as hot as me. I'm still getting shivers at the whole thing. And she says, when she gets to see all the photos of you and me in my hotel room, it will destroy her entire life. And that's her quote, her exact quote. It will destroy her entire life. But hang on a second. Wait a minute, Mandy. You have cameramen, not you, but there are cameramen there that are taping this. You know, Naomi could get a subscription to Hulu, or maybe she PVRs. Maybe she records SmackDown while she's away because she wants to take notes. She can see the whole thing. She can see that this was a ruse on your part. There's no big conspiracy here. Oh my God. And I am bawling. I am enjoying this because it is so bad. And I cannot believe that there are actually people getting top dollar, writing this stuff. This is what boggles my mind. I remember when they started getting writers in WWF, you had 2 camps. You had people who, when this started happening, like, writers don't understand the business. They won't be able to book things properly because they're not bookers, they're writers. And it's not up to them, it's up to the talent. And then on the other hand, you're like, well, this is TV now. We're getting TV writers who have TV experience, who work in writers' rooms and stuff like that. So they'll be able to to come up with some great stuff because they think outside of the wrestling box. And I'm like, this isn't a bad idea. On that level, that's not bad. But Jesus Christ! This was so cringy and B-movie levels. I wouldn't even say porn levels. This is farcical. This is like Skeletor in Masters of the Universe. This is what it turned into. You should know, He-Man, that the reason why you cannot reach Castle Grayskull is because I have put a force field around it. And the only way to deactivate the force field is to retrieve the 3 black crystals from the Whispering Woods. That's exactly what happened. So Jimmy, back to the storyline. I'm having so much fun, you guys. Jimmy is like, all right, photographs, all right, give me a sec. He walks out, and then he goes out, he says, my wife, right? I'll be right back. And you're like, oh, so he thought about this and he decided to bring Naomi. But folks, Mandy walks into the room. We don't see, not Mandy, Naomi walks into the room. We don't see Naomi walk in, not before seeing Mandy Rose's expression. Would you look at this? Look at this. I'm sorry if you're listening to this on a podcast platform, guys. Look at that high caliber, tip top, number 1 acting ability. Bless her heart. Oh, she tried so hard. Oh. She's surprised to see Naomi walk into the room. Oh my goodness. And they fight. They fight in the room. Oh, they tussle in the room for a while. And I'll say this. There's one moment where Mandy just nails Naomi with a hell of a back elbow after having her head slammed on the dresser. Just pop. And the one thing that knocks Naomi out is Naomi gets thrown over an armchair. She doesn't get stuck under the armchair. She's just thrown over the armchair, and that knocks her out. She's done. She's spent. There's nothing horrible about it, nothing egregious about it. It's just like, I'm done. And that allows Mandy Rose to escape in her underwear. Oh. This was some spectacularly terrible stuff. It was magical. I enjoyed this for all the wrong reasons, but they are nonetheless the best reasons. So let's have their blow off between the two of them at at the pre-show, at the Royal Rumble pre-show. Let's just move on, man. Just give us more Sonya Deville. That's what we want. Oh, by the way, credit to WWE Critics at WWE Critics on Twitter for the Oh man. You know, keep comparing this to porn. At least in porn, we get, we get some sort of satisfaction. Like we get what we came for, right? You get the money shots, you get the boobs, you get the boobs, you get the ass, you get what, here it's just, there's no payoff to this. All right, let's wrap this up. Shane McMahon's birthday bash. So Miz has a whole thing set up in the ring, and he invites Shane McMahon out for his birthday bash, and he says, on behalf of the locker room, everyone in attendance, on behalf of everyone in the locker room, everyone in attendance in the entire WWE universe, happy birthday. He says, this is no average, everyday birthday party. This is an arena full of your fans. They talk about cakes. They talk about how Miz talks about how hard it is to shop for a McMahon. But he did find something. He bought him Jordan 33s. That's not bad. He has a montage of Shane's appearances throughout the years, which is actually really, really well produced and well done. You're like, wow, okay. When you stick together everything that Shane has done, his resume is pretty impressive. When you have it like out there, and here though. There is, here what I really liked is at the end, you have Miz inserting himself into this montage of fantastic moments, with the World Cup of the WWE World Cup and the creation of their tag team. I like that he inserted himself into this, even though it was all about Shane. So Shane is a little touched. He says, ever since, you opened yourself up a couple of weeks ago about your father. Well, I'm going to open myself up here, Ever since I was a kid, I've been to WWE events, and I wanted to be tag team champions with Andre the Giant. But, now that I'm a grown-up, I'm an adult, I'm proud to be stepping into the ring with you, Miz, in 2 weeks at Royal Rumble. And that brings out Miz gets the audience to sing happy birthday. The bar comes out. And then Shane says, well, you guys are talking trash up there. Let's have a match here tonight. The Miz against Sheamus. And Miz is like, whoa. Miz starts pulling the Miz. He's like, wait a second. I'm in my suit. I'm not ready. Classic Miz stuff. But here Shane pulls a little Miz on him. He says, well, you're the Miz. You're this, you're a fantastic wrestler. You're part of the best tag team in the world. You can handle this even though you're in your suit. And Miz is like, yeah. He gets pumped up for it. Big face reactions here. And that's fantastic. And we get the match. Wasn't anything special. A lot of Sheamus dominance going on here. A lot of Sheamus stays on top for most of this match. He blocks the skull crushing finale at some point. Miz starts the battle back. He drop kicks Sheamus in the corner twice. Goes for a third time, but he eats a big clothesline by Sheamus. Sheamus distracts the ref. Cesaro interferes on the Miz, and that gets Shane in, who tosses Cesaro off of the apron and threw a cake because someone had to eat the cake. And again, it's Cesaro. And in the ring, Miz rolls up Sheamus for the win. After the match, Sheamus attacks Miz. Shane runs in to protect his buddy, hits a back elbow on Sheamus, and then the skull-crushing finale ensues, and it finishes with a coast-to-coast with the remaining cake on Sheamus. I'm gonna be upfront about this. I wasn't expecting to care about this angle as much as I do. I think they're really doing a great job making me care about this this Shane McMahon and Miz alliance, friendship, call it what you want. I was not expecting to have as much fun as I am right now. And I'm like, I'm sincerely earnest in my appreciation for what they're doing. I think it's great. Now, who turns on who? Because that's inevitable. Yeah, I mean, if you ask me at this point, what am I predicting? I am predicting WWE getting both of these guys into WrestleMania with a feud against each other. That's what I'm thinking. A lot of people seem to think Shane is going to turn heel and double cross the Miz. I really do think that Miz is a better and much more interesting character as a heel. I think all of his natural strengths are there. And on the opposite, I don't think Shane does a very good heel. Not anymore. When he was younger, when he was a kid, when he was the punk, the little young punk McMahon, the Mean Street Posse, privileged little snot, that worked, but not anymore. It doesn't. I couldn't see him as a heel. Miz, yes. And I would love to see something where Miz just has his heart crushed because of something. Where Miz just he turns because he feels betrayed. He feels angry. There's nothing like a heel who... Miz's best heel work is when he's right. You know what I mean? When his motivations are founded in something, that's when he really shines. That's when he's really he does some really top-notch stuff, and you believe his heeldom. But we'll see what happens. I still have some thought to put in as to whether they're going to win the titles at Royal Rumble. But then you can check that out next week, as I'm joined by Anthony Suter of Smart to Death right here on Mr. Warren Hayes, youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. He will be joining me for my Royal Rumble prediction show, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So be sure to pop back next week. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap this one up because we're pretty much done. I want to thank everyone who joined us in the chat this evening. It was another busy evening, lots of discussions going on. The hubris that comes with doing a streaming show is that you can't jump into these conversations as much as you like or as you'd like. So, I do see some stuff go by out of the corner of my eye, and I really appreciate everyone jumping in, taking part in the show. Thank you very much if you're watching this on your own time, whenever, watching it on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes or on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, Spotify. Those are all fantastic spots that you can also listen to the Mr. Warren Hayes. And why don't you take a minute here to subscribe wherever you are. Follow, subscribe. That always gives a good hand. And you can follow me on Twitter as well. Man, there's a lot of stuff that happens on Twitter. So you can follow me there at Mr. Warren Hayes. Ladies and gentlemen, can't thank you enough for joining me one more time. So we'll probably be talking to each other again next Monday right here on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. So there you have it. Thanks everyone for joining me. I'll see you